The Mattress Instant Savings Event is going on now at Ashley Home Store. Save up to $300 instantly on select mattresses, or get 5 years, no interest, no money down, no minimum purchase on our best mattress brands. Get a Temper Cloud Prima Queen mattress, now just $29 per month, or a Serta iComfort Plush mattress, only $30 per month. Plus, add a power base starting at an additional $10 per month. Hurry in today for instant mattress savings. Only at America's #1 furniture and mattress store, Ashley Home Store. This is home. Offer subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payment required. See store for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
I'm Chris Daly, and as always, each month we come to you with interesting folks who are making a difference in their world, and tonight is no exception. It's my privilege to introduce Mr. Shaka Barak. He has a bachelor's degree in behavioral social science and is an educator in the Chicago Public Schools. Mr. Barak is the president of the Marcus Garvey Institute, which was founded in 1992. He has written several articles and supports the annual Marcus Garvey Birthday Teleconference. He has a radio program focusing on Marcus Garvey's philosophy, and he's a TV host of a show, I've Got Something to Say, Garveyism. It's my privilege to give it over to my co-host, Denise Maxwell, who will conduct the interview. Take it away, Denise.
Well, thanks, Chris. Hi, Shaka. How you doing this evening?
I'm fine, and yourself?
Okay. We're glad that you spent some time with us. So our audience is dying to learn about you, even though we have spoken to you a few years back. But for our new audience that are listening this time around, help us to understand your roots by sharing a little bit about your family background.
Well, part of my background is that I was born January the 17th, 1952. Now, this just happens to be 11 years, 7 months, and 7 days after the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey passed. I was born in a town called Centerville in Tennessee. My mom was a single parent. We moved to the East Coast to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I lived there until the age of 10 when my mom and my stepfather moved to the south side of Chicago. I attended 2 high schools here in Chicago, a junior college and a university, graduating with a degree, as you have mentioned, in behavioral social science. I served in the United States Marine Corps for 2.5 years with an honorable discharge. I'm married and have 3 grown children.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. So what awakened your introduction to Marcus Garvey?
Well, I was introduced to Marcus Garvey while I was looking for an organization after leaving the military. I wanted some organization to address my interest in black nationalism, and I finally found a group called the Peace Movement of Ethiopia. This was really a Back to Africa movement founded by Minnie Maud Gordon in the 1930s. And one day, a member started reading from the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, which is edited by Amy Jakes Garvey and published in 2 volumes in 1923 and 1925. I inquired, I asked him and said, tell me about Marcus Garvey, and I found out that a branch of his organization was meeting in the same building on Sunday afternoon. It was then that I decided that what I needed to do was to look inside Marcus Garvey's principles.
Mm. And who are some of your mentors in your life?
Well, finding mentors for me has been difficult. I mean, my family moved from city to city. I went from school to school. And once I attended the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League meeting and was invited by my mentor, the one who I can call my mentor, Dr. Charles L. James, to join the UNIA, number 429. Under him, I was able to study the UNIA's Constitution and Book of Laws. I was able to read and commit to memory the UNIA's rituals and read philosophy and opinions. In fact, I read every book I got my hands on about Marcus Garvey from cover to cover. I picked the brains of these UNIA 70, 80, 90-year-old members who, in essence, were my mentors.
Mm. So, our audience may or may not know what the UNIA is. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes,
what is the UNIA?
The UNIA was an organization founded by the Honorable Marcus Garvey in 1914. There are 11 major principles that encompass what it stands for. One is to establish a universal confraternity among the race. Back in that time, it was estimated that there were 400 million. Yama Marcus Garvey wanted to organize the 400 million. Today, there are 1.23 billion black people in the world, and the organization would seek to organize them all. It wanted to promote the spirit of pride and love, who we were, the great accomplishments, the great inventors, the great thinkers, and to promote the spirit of love. We need to love each other. It wanted to reclaim the fallen. These are those who formerly incarcerated today, or those who were in vice and criminal behavior. To assist the needy, that means feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and shelter the homeless. To assist in civilizing the backward tribes of Africa, which meant that we wanted to bring industry, commerce, development, technology, and trade to the continent of Africa, to assist in developing independent Negro nations and communities. When Marcus Garvey came along, there were only two independent nations on the continent of Africa. That was Abyssinia, or Ethiopia, and then the other one was Liberia, that was set up in 1847 by Africans from America and the diaspora that were former slaves. To establish commissionaries and agencies so that Africans, no matter where they were in the world, there'd be an agency there that would look out for their interests. So if somebody attacked them simply because they were black, this agency could speak out in their interests. To establish universities, colleges, academies, and schools for the racial education of the people. To conduct worldwide commercial and industrial intercourse. In other words, there are things that Africa has that America needs if it's going to manufacture. There are things that the Caribbean has, all the fruits and all the vegetables and all the timber that America needs so that they could build factories. And likewise, there are things that America has, the African in America has, technology. He's been so close to the white man, he's learned all his tricks of the trade. The African in America could build those factories in the major cities because of our populations and our access to technology. And to promote better conditions in all communities. So that means that we have to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, house ourselves, and all the clothing that the members of the UNIA wore, the auxiliaries, the legions, the Black Cross nurses, the African Motor Corps, the children, it was manufactured by them. All the food that they ate in the restaurants and grocery stores, these were stores that they owned. And so all the material that they read, these were produced by our publishing houses. And the Negro World was our own newspaper, had 3 languages, so that if you were colonized by the French, you could read it. If you're colonized by the Spanish, you could read it. So the idea was to build, at some point in time, a major African empire upon which the sun shall never set.
And I like that, where the sun's never set, because another famous colonizer, the British, used to say that madness about the sun never setting the British Isles. But look what they had to do to get that, and that's exploit and colonize brown and black people. So give us your experience with the teachings of Marcus Garvey.
Well, my experiences were educational and inspirational. I found out that the Alma Marcus Garvey's whole life were lessons for Garveyites, not just the American, Jamaican, and European years. I soon read this particular book, More Philosophy and Opinions. It's like volume 3, which were his writings after his persecution in America, the attempts on his life, his frame-up, arrest, indictment, trial, conviction, imprisonment, and after serving 2.5 years in Atlanta Penitentiary, his deportation to the land of his birth, Jamaica, from the United States in 1927. So this book was edited and published by Amy Jakes Garvey and E.U. Eason Udom, and it was published in 1977. So I read it, and I found out that Marcus Garvey had started a school called African Philosophy that my mentor, Dr. James, who was then the President General of the UNIA, had attended. I asked him to teach me the course that Marcus Garvey had taught him. He agreed, and I paid my fees, got my lessons, wrote them out word for word until I completed the course. This was before the lessons were put into the book Message to the People, published by the late Dr. Tony Martin, author of the books in the Marcus Garvey Library, published by Majority Press. So I was honored by being told before my division members that I was well taught, knew how to teach the program of the UNIA and Garveyism, and was able and expected to go out and teach the world, or that I was no damn good, which Dr. James said Marcus Garvey had said to him, that if he didn't do it, he was no damn good. And I wanted to be some good.
So tell us how Garvey's philosophy has impacted you now that you are well-versed in his teaching.
Yeah, I like to think that it has impacted me because the fact of the matter is I dream, I think, I eat, I sleep Garvey's philosophy. And so in 1992, I co-founded the Marcus Garvey Institute that does research on the life of Marcus Garvey. In fact, Janice, I'm a disciple of Marcus Garvey. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I desire to be Marcus Garvey personified. I like to think that his God, his aim, his destiny is mine as well. So I not only have books about him, but posters, pictures of all the UNI auxiliaries, documents, Negro Worlds, newspapers. I mean, I have them video where somebody had a collection, and I went to their home, and they allowed me to video these old newspapers. They were crumbling, but I pieced them all together. And today, I meet with all factions of the UNIA and groups that pay tribute to him during birthday celebrations and other events to honor him around the world. So the Marcus Garvey Institute holds its own birthday celebrations and commemorations, and now I have an internet radio show called the Shaka Barak Radio Show on intellectualradio.com. You didn't know about that one, Janice. And that is where it is also Garvey centered. This is every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on intellectualradio.com. Now, another way his philosophy has impacted me is to learn how he stood up under attack. Now, he taught that leadership, no matter how well-intended you are, no matter how honest you are, leadership of African people means pain, blood, and death. For example, it's interesting to note that the Black Star Line business was investigated by the FBI and the district attorney, and there were no discrepancies. They found nothing wrong. However, after the United States government poured millions of dollars into sabotaging the Black Star Line, putting its agents into the employ of the UNIA, then the Black Star Line started having problems. They charged Marcus Garvey with conspiracy to defraud black people when it was only UNIA members who bought stock, and not a dozen of them out of 35,000 complained. This is the price that he paid. This is the lesson that I learned as well.
Yeah. What we find, say Mandela or Garvey, if you're going to impact the black diaspora, you will have to pay a price for that.
That's
and
right.
Very few people is willing to do that. So we really appreciate you preserving the culture of the philosophy of Garvey, but how is Garvey isn't being deployed to impact the next generation, particularly the men?
Well, in addition to
or young men.
In addition to birthday celebrations, well, now let's understand, Janice, there are some old men that didn't get it either. They didn't learn. They didn't hear about it. And so we have, of course, the Marcus Garvey exhibit with all of the wonderful information. But we also, we're visiting schools where we set the exhibit up for a couple of days and lecture to the youth class by class. Then students do research, drawings of Marcus Garvey, the ships, and some have even created rap songs. So we're now meeting with groups of youth on summer work programs here in Chicago and have them participating in oratory contests. We've been doing this for years, where children as young as 7 years old are involved with reading his poetry, reading his writings, and then saying them in a contest. Recently, we're involved in a new documentary that came out about Marcus Garvey, written by Dr. Vincent Hines. He's from Jamaica, but he lives in London, and it was produced by Zulu Productions out of London, England. So these are ways that we're reaching other people, but more importantly, Marcus Garvey is being discussed among the heads of government in Africa, among the members of the African Union. Dr. Julius Winston Garvey is often sought after in many different circles to tell people about his father. So we have spoken with ambassadors who have did research on Marcus Garvey. So Garveyism is what we call perpetual motion. It's in perpetual motion. That means that once it is started, it's self-generated. So no matter what happens to it in the past, it'll still go on forever.
Since you are an educator, who do you think benefits from special ed, and why is there a recent surge in such classes in the U.S., and then you had mentioned you're familiar with the U.K., and particularly attacking black children? Do you think it's a diet, or there's just money to be made, or what's going on?
Well, research has shown that children can benefit from special education classes, that through no fault of their own, they may be blind, they may be deaf, They may have autism and other disorders. So any class that is designed to teach children is good if it does. If the class is set up, however, to remove students who have exceptionalities because they don't want the headache of trying to teach them, that is, the teachers, then that's bad. So it's good for the teachers but bad for the students. Also, students have genuine special needs. Well, they must be, they must have educated parents who understand that need and can work with their children. And I think there's another problem, too, and that is we see a disproportionate number of Africans in special ed, but we also see an underrepresentation of Africans in the gifted programs. So there may be a conspiracy to reduce the number of successful students who matriculate through higher education and go into business or find jobs. I mean, there's always the idea that maybe some people see us as competitors and want to eliminate the competition.
Yeah. And since we're on the topic of education and school structures, what is the difference between, say, a Rastafarian teaching Garveyism in comparing to a standard public school? I know in Chicago they have a school named Marcus Garvey School, and they have various charter schools utilizing the Marcus Garvey's name. And one I can think of is the one in L.A., which is doing fantastic. But a lot of people are using his name, but who's benefiting? You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, in fact, there could be little difference in
like the one in Chicago, the school that's called Marcus Garvey in Chicago that was
case in point, exactly. And that's why I'm saying there could be little difference depending on the level of commitment on the part of the teachers to teach unadulterated Garveyism. I mean, teachers can't teach what they don't know. So no matter what the name of the school building is named or the organization, if the people who are supposed to be teaching and educating and training don't know the history of the Alma Marcus Garvey, and I think that's where we come in too, because we went down to that school, the Marcus Garvey Elementary School, and we found it just as interesting to teach the teachers, and we found them trying to get the information that was being shared as eagerly as the children were, because they didn't know. And so it doesn't matter who's doing it if you don't take the time to do the research. In fact, have a curriculum for the whole school that not just once a month, because when you think about Marcus Garvey, there was an economic program, there was a political program, social program, spiritual program. There were so many sides of him until you couldn't get it all done in 1 month, like the month of February, the little short month, right? It's called Black History Month. But we need the whole year, and every day could be dedicated to, or every semester, to learning something else about Marcus Garvey.
Are you familiar with any of the charter schools that are named after Marcus Garvey that are Afrocentric?
Yeah, but again, it's the same challenge. Very seldom do I find people who are over these schools that actually are well-versed in Marcus Garvey. They like the ideas of self-reliance and independence. They like the idea of race first, and they embrace some of the principles, some of the ideology of black nationalism, or universal African nationalism. But Garveyism specifically is a set of principles and a unique history that when it's taught and those principles are taught, then the person has a real clear understanding as to who Marcus Garvey was. But if you just embrace a little bit because you just want to do a little bit with it, then the children walk away with only a little understanding that will do them be very little in interest to them.
Do you think that could teaching Marcus Garvey or teaching Garveyism would reduce the disproportionate high dropout rate? Because as it stands right now, I think black males, the high school dropout is like 50% or just something ridiculously high.
Yeah, it's quite high. Unfortunately, dropouts don't start with children in school. It often starts with their parents who have dropped out of the race of life. They pass that loser attitude onto the children. And Garveyism, again, in our holistic approach, must involve teachers and students. It must involve students and parents. It must involve the political leaders. It must involve the spiritual leaders. So then Garveyism will give them the courage and confidence that they need to help us find our purpose. and then we won't abandon our purpose. So a lot of the children that can't see beyond the age of 25, trying to get them to matriculate through the educational institutions when you say, hey, so that you'll get a job one day. And then when they graduate, or just look around the neighborhood sometime, where is a job, in a mile radius to where they live or where they go to school? I mean, unemployment is high. It's not just because people don't want to work. That's not just because people are not educated. It's because factories have closed in many different cities, and industries have left the country, and so the unemployment is there, and then it was there for their parents. And some are like third generation, fourth generation welfare recipients. So the problem is not just with the youth who are dropping out. The problem is with our race.
Yeah, a lot of them, it's sad to hear that, but a lot of them, they're just emulating what they see. If this is what you see, then you figure, oh, well, it was good enough for my mother or good enough for my grandma. It's good enough for me. But currently, Eric Holder has recently committed to the work on the exoneration of Marcus Garvey. What is your response to this development?
Well, when I first heard that the United States Attorney had said something very favorable to the Honorable Marcus Garvey, I got extremely excited. But it was very strange how after his being asked by Dr. Claire Nelson his thoughts on Marcus Garvey and his reply that Marcus Garvey was one of his heroes, that article written by Wayne Rose that first appeared in the Examiner has disappeared. Nobody has been able to track that article with Eric Holder's statement in it. And in fact, let me ask you, do you have that article? Because
no.
we've been having a problem finding it. So, but nonetheless, if he was to support the exoneration of Marcus Garvey, that would be great. It would aid us in teaching about Marcus Garvey and not have to run into people who don't want to learn about Marcus Garvey because of the criminalization of him. So I think it would be great if he did say those things and would work for the exoneration of Marcus Garvey.
Well, what can, say, the Black diaspora or islanders do to support you and your cause and just to further the interests of Marcus Garvey? Well,
we just met yesterday and are developing plans to expand a petition drive. Now, this effort is to get the leaders to support the exoneration and to hit Facebook and get all of our friends on Facebook and to reach out to the diaspora to inform them about Marcus Garvey first, because, Janice, the problem is that not enough of our people know about the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Sure, the Caribbean community, that's conscious. The African community, that's conscious. African Americans who have been involved with black nationalist organizations like the Nation of Islam, they know a little bit. And the Moorish Science Temple, they know a little bit. And Rastafarian groups, they know a little bit more. But for the masses of people, the 1.2 billion of us on the planet, not even a fraction. You can't even come up with a fraction of people, and that's really sad. But that's why our job is to educate the masses of people as fast as we possibly can. That's why we're going to be spending our time moving through these schools with our exhibit and documentaries so that we can educate our race as fast, so that we can change the dialogue that takes place. So you are doing a wonderful job, you and Chris and all of those at the Jamaican diaspora, because I've looked at your archives and I see where you have brought on other guests who have talked about the Honorable Marcus Garvey. So we need more people who have talk shows, have TV shows, have radio shows, to newspapers and other forms of media to also bring me on and bring you on and bring others on who know a little bit, maybe a little bit more, so that we can educate more and more of our people.
And so if anyone would like to find out about getting in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, they're welcome to email me, first of all, at the Shaka Barak 1 at yahoo.com. I'll repeat that, Shaka Barak 1 at yahoo.com. and just let me know whatever you're thinking. We're looking for opportunities to bring this information to the African diaspora. Now, if you want to call me, call me directly at the Marcus Garvey Institute, and that's 708-613-5132. 708-613-5132. That's the Marcus Garvey Institute. You got the direct line to me, and I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Marcus Garvey. I'll give it to you unadulterated. I'll give it to you raw.
Okay. So to learn more about Chris Daly, visit Let's Get Mobile and Social. To learn more about Jamaican Diaspora, visit JamaicanDiaspora.com. And Shaka, we're going to have you say it one more time before we go.
The Marcus
Your
Garvey,
email.
the Marcus Garvey. Oh, the email first of all is Shaka Barak, SHAKA, BARAK, one word. The number 1 at yahoo.com. The telephone number is 708-613-5132.
Okay. We really appreciate you spending some time with us. And one love, one aim, one destiny, as Marcus Garvey say. And thanks for spending some time with us.
My
Bye,
pleasure.
Shaka.
The Mattress Instant Savings Event is going on now at Ashley Home Store. Save up to $300 instantly on select mattresses, or get 5 years, no interest, no money down, no minimum purchase on our best mattress brands. Get a Tempur Cloud Prima Queen mattress, now just $29 per month, or a Serta iComfort Plush mattress, only $30 per month. Plus, add a power base starting at an additional $10 per month. Hurry in today for instant mattress savings, only at America's #1 furniture and mattress store, Ashley Home Store. This is home. Offer subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payment required. See store for details.
The summer's hottest concert series is back. Jazzin' at the Shed takes place every Wednesday night, now through September 14th at Shed Aquarium. Enjoy a night of live music from premier jazz musicians, breathtaking skyline views from Shed's lakeside terraces, food, drinks, 32,000 aquatic animals, and complete fireworks show. Tickets are on sale now at shedaquarium.org/jazzin. Become a member today and receive free admission. Jazzin' at the Shed is sponsored by Chase.